that's why art is the Renaissance, because truly what we need in humanity is people to come into contact with these feelings that are so smashed down and hidden, and we're creating all these distractions from these parts of ourselves, and art gives us an access point to be able to paint that story, to paint that feeling, to sing, to call from that place and have that vibration be felt and heard.
I've learned more listening to podcasts than I learned in my 2 years of college.
Right now is a great opportunity to leverage the power of voice.
No one's going to be able to offer the world what you can.
It took someone else that had a bigger vision than me to be able to show me the way. And so now that we're here, we can show others the way. What if you can do what you love to fight what you hate?
Be on Air, powered by Podcast Farm. Welcome back to Be on Air. I'm your host, K.Lee Marks. And today I have brought three really special brothers that are at different parts of the earth right now. It's a miracle that we have gathered here at the same time, different places, to bring you conversation about what's up for each of us, about what we love, about what we're passionate about maybe what is upsetting us right now, and to what is it like to be alive in 2021. It's April 14th as men in society. And I feel like this conversation is something that needs to happen more often. And we've been in Clubhouse having this. And so I'm really happy to pull this little pod of people and share that with you guys. What is up, fam? We got Luke, we got Kevin, we got Shrikala. Guys, I'm so grateful that you could all make some time to join me and my audience, my beautiful, lovely audience. We have some amazing listeners out there tuning in. And I thought we could start by just round robining. Is that a word? Round robining.
I like that word.
Yeah, it's a word now. And maybe Shrikala, maybe you could start us off. Who are you and what are you up to in the world right now?
Well, I like the idea of robining, and creating a new language. The beauty of taking words and reshaping them and bringing new meanings to things that have been around for some time. I love the ancient. I love what has come previously, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 500 years ago. I love to understand that. I love to live in that. I love to study that. And then I love the future. I love just being way into the future, like way into the future. And so that being said, I'm someone that, I studied the Bhagavad Gita. I do my breath work. I do my Tai Chi. I like to know the sciences that can keep my body well, keep my mind focused, keep my heart aligned to the truth, and also keep my heart open enough to be generous with the world around me. And that is a connection to the ancients and what has always been there. And then I also like the future. I also love the innovation. I also love, like I had in high school, I was part of a hacking crew. It's like technology is everything to me. I love it. And I love the ability that we get to pour all of this love that's being cultivated and passed down from tradition to tradition, from disciple to guru, from et cetera, passing down all this love, all this vibe, and embedding it into the technology and using the technology to just see how far we can love. And that's why I like being on this podcast with you, because I know that's what you're about. And I know that's what my brothers here to my right and to my diagonal this way is about. And I feel like it's such a blessing to circle up, because I can't do this on my own. It's actually in my charts that it's not possible for me to do things on my own. I actually need the right elements around me to even finish things. And so, that's a small glimpse of me where I could leave that.
It's so good to have you here, Shrikala.
Oh, what a blessing.
I feel like I've been in your orbit for several years, listening to your music, and you have one song, Already Here, also known as Already Here Now. And I feel like that was a really strong invitation into the present and into the bridge between the present and the future. So thank you for being here. And we will definitely interweave some music throughout this episode so people can tune in, and some different offerings from each of my brothers here. So Kevin, would you also share, what are you up to? What is your journey?
Yeah, aloha family. So good to be here with y'all. Some legends, Clubhouse to the podcast, building these techno spirit bridges. I love that. Yeah, what am I into right now? Well, I mean, Krishnamurti said it best, 50, 60 years ago, maybe more than that. The crisis is a crisis in consciousness. It's not a crisis in markets or military industrial complex or, this country and that country and ideology. It's just a crisis in consciousness, the consciousness that's wielding godlike technology and weaponry and vast influence over the biosphere and each other is still running on Paleolithic emotions and limbic hijacking and rivalrous games, ego-based consciousness, which is a deadly cocktail. And those of us that have been, on the mat, in the dojo, in the ashram, doing the shadow work, sitting with plants, we can all feel it. And even the people who don't do any of those things can feel it. So that's what I'm most interested in right now, is what are the stories and narratives and linguistic structures that we can enunciate, articulate, and most importantly, embody, that will tell a new story about humanity here in 2021. And I think the 2020s are a decisive decade. They're a decisive decade for this century and humanity's future. And I think that's pretty evident here in 2021. We're only 2 years in, not even 2 years into the decade, and it's hot. It's hot, So that's what I'm most interested in. My role in that, what I do, I'm a speaker, I'm a storyteller, I'm an author. A lot of my work is centered around the hero's journey and the rites of passage for men, the archetype of initiation for the masculine. How that relates to the feminine and the tantric ways of actually embodying and meeting the feminine within as a man, so then you can do it with a partner. I'm also heavily influenced by, the tradition of philosophy. So the good, the true, and the beautiful. This is the Pythagorean, which is where Plato got trained. It's the Pythagorean school. These are the major areas in the Western mystery school of where to aim at, the good, the true, and the beautiful. And so Western society is at kind of the pinnacle right now. And, the East is certainly the sleeping dragon of China is in play as well, not sleeping anymore. But the Western tradition really, to my mind, as a philosopher, as a writer, as a creator, as a poet, as a bard, we got to bring that back to the forefront. So that's what I'm here for. Good to be with you, gents.
Yeah, and I heard you speaking in Clubhouse, Kevin. I maybe had seen you out there in the interwebs, but I hadn't ever heard you speak. And one of the things Clubhouse does is it gives us this immediate snapshot kind of understanding of someone based on their voice. And I've so enjoyed the rooms that you've facilitated and the conversations that have been happening. And I've been in several rooms with all three of you. And that's why I knew that this needed to happen, that I wanted to bring you on and have a recorded conversation on the air. And on this point about the hero's journey and these archetypes, one archetype that comes to mind is of the Knights of the Round Table, and this idea of how important it is as brothers, as men, that we gather together and check in about what's going on in reality, in our life, in our families, in our communities, and decide, how to show up in more and more aware, conscious, and intentional ways, I think. And so next, you mentioned bard, and the first time I actually heard that word in a long time was in Luke's bio, I think on Instagram or something. Luke, I've seen you as well throughout the internet, but I'd never gotten a chance to interact. And also in Clubhouse is when I really started to hear you speak and share, what you've been working on in your life and your heart. And so I'm really, really excited to have your voice here. And so I'd love it if you'd introduce yourself to the audience and share what you're up to in the world.
Best things. Thank you, K.Lee, for catalyzing this beautiful roundtable, as you called it. Love both of these brothers very dearly from different stages of the journey, all converging at this time. So I'm just, feeling a lot of gratitude in my heart to be in this council today. For me, bard is the adequate word. I've had different stages of the journey where I've had to kind of let go of some identifications. You know, how I oriented as me in connection with life, not so much in the internal landscapes, but interfacing with the world at large. And bard was something that came to me through a friend, actually, who I'm living with here, Just Magic, introduced me to this word. And just to bring context, because this will tie into what I'm most excited about, what I'm up to. A bard in the medieval times was a songwriter, a verse maker, a storyteller, a poet, a musician that would sort of bring the good news from kingdom to kingdom. So if you know the feudal system and how it's set up, a lot of people couldn't leave because they had the protection of that sort of system. They had the huge gates, and everything was there, and so they didn't really travel much. So the bard would bring all this wild, exotic energy from their travels, and they were little gangsters too, because they were traveling between the kingdoms. You got thieves on the road, all these different things that can mess. And so just gaining these positive stories and bringing the good news from kingdom to kingdom. Now, as I went deeper into the mythology of the bard, I found that it was actually alive in the Celtic and Druid traditions, which, is something that I've been reclaiming in my own lineage, my own Irish ancestry. And as I reclaimed those ancestral ties, I understood that a bard in their tradition awakened soul energy through sound and transmission, and that they would spend 30 years in initiation before they were allowed to start to do that work. And I feel like my life has been a sequence of initiations, and to finally claim bard and come out in the world and start to share these stories and start to share these narratives, to offer my music, to offer my poetry again, sort of more refined over the years, feels really good, feels really fulfilling. And I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. I'm just a human being here. I've had some support in my life. I have a deep remembrance of who I've been beyond this form. And I'm here to translate. I'm here to translate the invisible stuff that goes on between human beings, inside of ourselves, with the world at large, and the evolution that we're undergoing in consciousness as a humanity. I'm really about that unity. I'm really here to help carry the narratives of where we're all related, how we're connected, why we're connected, the beautiful diversity and cultural nuances that can add value to the evolution of consciousness and the healing of the nations. And so, I've been really enjoying Clubhouse and building with beautiful relatives around the world, all my relations in different regions and environments that I've cultivated connections with over the years, and meeting new allies. And that's really exciting to me. This is a big context of how I know Sri Kala is in the context of community and creating a space for people to gather and heal and activate and get inspired through art and music and culture and through sacred traditions, as he's named. Same thing with Kevin in another version. So, for me, the bard is just one tip of my sort of structure. The other two pillars would be ecopreneurship, which is entrepreneurship that's informed from a value-based system of the next 7 generations. And then community building, just really like, how can we do business, relationships, community just better and better and better, more optimized, more benevolent. And so co-founding Benevolent Culture with Kevin and hopefully Shri and a bunch of others that want to build with us on Clubhouse and beyond, and currently residing on the beautiful Indonesian island of Bali with a lot of reverence and gratitude that life brought me here. And with that, I'm in.
We get to hear those beautiful birds in the background too, to share a little bit of that Balinese vibe. So thank you for that. I'm getting a strong archetypal tarot kind of download about a lot of what was just said, and the importance of storytelling and the importance of embodying these archetypes. And it's almost like we go out into the world and survey and quest and investigate, and these moments where we get to come together and share and kind of put our heads together and share notes, this idea of a think tank, this idea of a mastermind, I'm really excited about the round table. So one question that I have for the group is, what are the marching orders that y'all have kind of resonated with right now as love warriors. I'll name us all love warriors, because I feel like, you know, I've been in enough rooms with you to feel each of your hearts. And Shri, I've spent quite a bit more time with you, and yeah, so I consider you all love warriors and heart warriors. So what is the marching orders for each of you right now in today's age? Like, what is the primary directive? And obviously that'll differ for each of us, but I wanted to put that question out.
Wondering if we could remix that word.
Yeah.
I like it.
Marching orders.
I love war metaphors, as long as we understand that the war is inside and with ourselves, and we're not fighting any other humans per se, although we kind of are too. It's a whole other rabbit hole. It's very clear to me what the marching orders could be for everyone, and this applies to literally everyone. You know, as soon as Corona hit and the world exploded into some chaos, you know, it's time to go. So if you're waiting to tell that person you love them, if you're waiting to share your art, music, culture, if you're waiting to start a business, if you're waiting to take the trip, you know, life is at a point now where, to my mind, it's like, let's fucking go. So take risks, like reach out, you know, like sovereign focus your whole reality. Get your money out of banks, get into blockchain, you know, move away from toxic cities and communities, plant a garden, find the others, you know, leave codependent toxic relationships and family structures, find sovereign inter-unity. So this is to me, it's very broad, but it's very clear, the clarion call of our time right now. It's make moves, like it's time.
Oh, yes, yes. The marching orders. I feel like well, first off, I love that. I love everything that you just brought in. And I love that Luke's first response was like, I want to redefine the word marching orders. It almost like speaks to just your vibe and your nature of just taking something and wanting to kind of like shape it in a way for others to be more relevant, to connect. And so I'm honoring that. And I feel like that's part of your marching orders. is to redefine the word marching order.
It's my rebel, man. Don't tell me how to march. I take no orders. God is my only commander.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, words are powerful, and they're labels, and each of us have a different mind movie about what the label means, right? And so I think remixing, redefining, and then this idea of consensus, which is sort of what I was hearing from you, Kevin, is this idea of you know, interdependence and harmony, and how do we decide what society is? And so what I was just hearing from you was decentralize, move towards a new model. Like, we can't really salvage certain aspects of the current model, so move towards these new models, decentralize, return to local community, return to that tight-knit community. And I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy what happened this last year in 2020 with COVID. With, you know, I was teaching in public schools while this was happening. I was teaching in Catholic schools. I was teaching magic. Sleight of hand magic is so bizarre to be teaching that in a Catholic school.
Who do you know teaches magic?
They were paying me, but it was called Tricks and Fun. Tricks and Fun, not magic, because magic.
You can make money on whatever you wanna. It's beautiful.
So, you know, to just go from full on society to completely shut down, lockdown, was bizarre. It was bizarre. That's the only way I can think of it. And no food. You know, that was the first thing when stuff started to run out. No toilet paper. That was another huge issue. Obviously not for people like the entire country of India knows how to deal with that. But you know, so it became way more clear the importance of local community, right? So like we immediately got signed up with a local CSA and started to just get vegetables from people in our community. And even that maxed out, and they could only feed so much because the demand was so high. So it became really clear how far away the cities have come from any form of sustainable, you know, of any sort of sustainability. So, you know, Shri, you're in LA right now, and it's, you know, that's a huge sprawl. How are you doing over there? What is life like there right now? What is the marching
Wow.
orders as an urban king?
Well, I love cities. And I feel like if somebody wants to be in a city and that's where the divine has guided them to be, I think that that's a beautiful place for them to exist in. And I you know, a beautiful thing that I noticed Kevin did when you asked the marching orders question, he was like, and then Luke was like, oh yeah, how can we redefine that word? And then Kevin was just like, nah, I like that word. You know, that's the vibe. Marching orders. I could dig some war right now, and I feel like that is that's a beauty to his design, and that really reflects back into what my marching orders right now are, is to be myself completely, like be utterly and deeply myself. Like where I am is what's up. Really tuning into what my gut is saying, what my belly is saying, what my heart is saying, like what's really true. Because there's so many different stories happening right now, so many captions and so many stories and so many angles of news that are coming in, and conspiracy theories, and take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine, you know, families at war because half the family is taking the vaccine, another part of the family doesn't want it. Like, what are we gonna do here, you know? And so, what feels super real to me is really allowing myself to take the time to really know where the guidance is, and really working on that, and being real to that, being real to what my art and how love passes through me. And so my marching orders of late has been not only that tuning in, tune to the station where infinite creation, on earth to whom we show motherly relation, against the machines we rage in as we raise the vibration. That was a shout out to Luke there, old project we had going. So being able to tune into the station, and then at the same time, learning for myself how to be that easeful king. Like right now, I'm running a social media agency. I'm also we're moving forward pretty heavily with an artist collective by the name of Unique Masterpiece, which you are also, we're honored to have you work on the podcast for this project. And in these like circles, these bodies of loving offerings to the world, learning what my job is in that, like, and being true to what my job is, which might not be inside of everything, doing every little part, but kind of just resting back and being confident enough to have the vision, and then spark a circle that can execute on that vision. And that's been the most nourishing thing for me right now, is to have the ideas, create some detail around it, and then get the circle up of minds and bodies and heads to trust even that they will hold down the parts that they need to hold down. And I can even move out of the circle and say, hey, you guys, here's my idea. Here's where the love is flowing. Take it. I'll be over here, you know, and then I'll check in to see how things are going. I think that that's like a really important space for me to be in right now, as what I want to anchor in and what I am anchoring in is bigger than anything that I can do on my own. And it's part of this king, it's part of this royalty that's being asked to be present to in every moment of the day. And so the marching orders is doing the work to stay in tune with what is true for me, what is true for the divine guidance that wants to come through me, and then how that is executed so that thing comes into the world in a powerful way, in an efficient way, in a way where we can really catalyze a lot of evolution for the planet, and bring some love to the art right now. Art is the renaissance for me personally, and art is the renaissance that is coming into the planet, and the ability for us to impress upon a song or a painting or a movie, our vibration, our energy, and have that go beyond us. It's huge for us to make a song, put the vibes in the song, and then have the song go off and do its own thing. You know, I think that's what I want to support. That's what Unique Masterpiece is about. That's what I'm excited to do, is to support artists and support the people that they're so creative that they don't even want to think about organization. They don't want to think about marketing, you know, so they shouldn't have to. And so the everything that we're doing is to create a platform that supports the raw movement of that love, that genius, that energy into the art, so that we could have that happening on a bigger scale, so that we could eat vegan cheesecakes whenever we want to.
Everybody's got to eat. We all got to eat.
Everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to have a cheesecake on their side, you know?
Yeah. You got like raw vegan cheesecake too? Is that an option?
Yo, bro,
well,
I love
you know,
cheesecake so much, so we're going to be good friends, bro.
There it is.
Keto cheesecake for me, though.
With regenerative, sustainably harvested avocados and cashews that are replenishing for the next 7 generations.
I love that.
I'm really glad that you brought up some of those points. What I was hearing from that was this almost like the delegation that's required to be a king is enormous.
It's enormous, and it's like for me, in my experience of it, it's very it's frightening in a way of giving over your trust and trusting someone with your baby. You know, like Unique Masterpiece is something that I've cared for a few years now. And now it's like, okay, here, you know, and it's not just giving it away. I'm not giving it away, but I'm trusting others, you know, and trusting others from an awareness of my own gut. Like, okay, I got to do my hip circles. I got to turn on that music and dance and connect, so that when that idea, when that thought, when that person comes up to me, I can feel if it's a yes or a no, and I can just decide right then and there, and just not have all that hesitation in my body, you know? And so like Kevin was saying, this is the year where the hesitation goes out. You know, this is the year where we decide faster and we make things happen faster.
Yes, love this. There's some massive codes. Feeling the inspiration around that delegation. Kevin and I have been talking about this a lot. So we're calling in like a high-level VA right now. And I think about the years that I've done way more than I should be doing out of a deep love and devotion, but not my kuleana, so to speak. I have a video out there talking about this word kuleana, and I thought about that when you were sharing, Sri. What's your sacred responsibility? What's actually yours to do? You know, this is a powerful code for humanity, and I think that this year, kind of to tie in both your guys' shares, if I'll weave it into that whole theme, synthesize, is it's that kuleana, like this is the time to get with what's yours to really do, your purpose, the gifts that actualize your purpose, and letting go what's not yours to do. You know, with I call it the great pause. What happened last year was the great pause. I know a lot of artists, a lot of community builders, and people that were touring that had to get still. And in that pattern interruption, they had to get real with some feelings, with some patterns, with some behaviors that were no longer serving for a while, myself included, big time. And so I think if we keep showing up for that which is truly ours to do, our purpose, and allow them, you know, many of us have a multitude of gifts, knowing that those gifts are expressions to realize that purpose. And so, you know, I think that the gift of these pattern interruptions, the gift, the silver lining or the golden threads of this whole pandemic, is the opportunity to really step in to your kuleana, that which is your sacred responsibility, and serve. And you're going to see that. We're seeing the bifurcation of, you know, are you just getting swept in the collective energy and swirled and move in a very specific direction, or are you choosing from the gut core orientation of your own soul, your own heart, the own wisdom of your body's intelligence, like the deep, innate, natural wisdom of just this human body holds when we attune to it, when we ground into it. And so I think that there's a powerful invitation to humanity to recognize what's at risk and also the potential. So that sort of contrast is getting pretty profound. And when I say potential, I'm talking about deep alignment with Mother Earth and how grounded spirituality can inform profound technologies, organic time, the rhythms and cycles that are life-giving. They're not extractive, and they're not based in entropy. They're based in life-giving principles. And the other potential that we can go into a contrived time experience where we are no longer sovereign beings, but under the rule of an external king, an external queen, an externalized authority. And that inorganic time is quite entropic. It is not life-giving. It is parasitic. And so if we can acknowledge that with love, and it's not condemning anyone. Everyone has the free will and choice. That's Earth School. We get to decide. We get to grow and learn. I'm personally inspired about the benevolent potential of a new renaissance through art, as Sri was calling it. How we get to create art, and how that informs the world, the beauty. I'll close by a quote that I often like to share with people to plant the seed of what I'm talking about. Is that we're moving from time is money into time is art. It's a quote by Jose Aguilares. Moving from time is money to time is art. So if we are truly eternal beings having this experience in these bodies, these souls within this time-space experience, and we're actually in contact with that quality of our eternity, how do we want to make the best use of our time? And I think the beautiful and the true, as Kevin talked about, we're going to add that. We're going to contribute that. That's ours to do, right? So my marching orders is to make a more beautiful world that works for everybody, and to invite people and really help illuminate that contrast right now that, like, okay, your choices have impact. You matter. What you are choosing to give your energy to, your time, energy, your money, your resources matters. And here's some options that are available to consider with your own free will and sovereignty to align with, because it may feel a lot better. So I'll keep it at that.
Possibilities, opportunities, more room to choose. I really appreciate that. And as you know, just tuning in with the listeners, obviously these gentlemen have a way with words, and as podcasters, as broadcasters, we rely on the voice, we rely on our words to connect and to spread our message, spread our work, spread the love. So I'm kind of curious, Kevin, we haven't heard from you in a second. I would be curious if you want to tune in on this king archetype, on the hero's journey that we're all going through, and sort of how you are integrating that.
Yeah, I mean, king is huge, and what Shri's talking to is a big part of the king energy, which is all about command. So the king is commanding, right? You think about Arthur. Like, Arthur still was on quests, and he was, talking to his knights, Gawain, Lancelot, these the boys, the other warriors that serve him.
Juice bar.
Cold pressed juice is being made next to me now. But basically, when the king is in power, he's not leaving the throne, because he's needed to hold a sovereign pillar. So there's a delegation, there's a command, there's an outsourcing that happens. And if it's benevolent, it's actually it's empowering, because you're offering trust, and you're in command. It's not power over. It's actually, I trust you so much. I love you so much. I need you to do this. We get to do this together. It's very collaborative. And actually, the person that is receiving the command can receive a lot of medicine and power from that, because receiving the blessing of the king is extremely important. And so the king in many cultures, you can look at Mesopotamia, ancient China, even the Mayan Aztec, like the king, the pharaoh in Egypt, he's seen as a representation of the fertility and the generative nature of the kingdom itself. And in many traditions, it's like they thought the king was a representation of God, of the gods. And this is why if the king gets fucked up, and look around in America, look around in Europe, Canada, Australia, a lot of these guys are tyrants, which is the shadow polarity of the king, which reflects on the whole kingdom. right? And queens, there's a similar and mirrored archetype for queens, right? Some cultures were matrilinear, and so they had female queens or empresses. But that energy, the sovereign energy, is a really important thing that comes online in a lifetime. You know, it doesn't happen in your 30s, probably doesn't even happen in your 40s. Robert Moore, the preeminent scholar of a lot of this stuff, he really believed in a 60-year or 40-year psychotherapy practice. You know, most men won't manifest the king until their 50s. And it's cool, like we call ourselves king in the conscious community, but this is like an integrated, mature, masculine personality structure that can actually hold high-level energy at the level of business, family, feminine relations, the earth, and his own body, right? And I think he was right. You know, it's cool that I can call you a king and you call me a king, and you know, but actually before we get to king, there's the early, middle, and late prince archetypes, which prince gets a bad rap maybe because of our Disney programming, but the prince is a beautiful energy of conquering and then seeking and questing and then building and diplomacy. The prince is just the king to be. So this is a really important archetype for humanity right now. And again, the word princess has a connotation around Disney for a lot of us, but it's the same thing with the queen and all the feminine out there, those feminine beings. Their maturity into that sovereignty is going to be a definitive factor in this generation for the elders that will steward the next generation. So when you talk about 7 generations, like, let's just face it, in the West, we don't have a strong elder culture. We have an older culture. We drug them up, we put them in homes to die. There's no pretty way to say it, okay? And this is pretty much, well, it's not the case everywhere. Here in Indonesia, elders are honored. And they still participate in ceremonies, even at like age 80, 90. In China and in the East, it's a little different. Very strong familial piety from that Confucian medicine. We need to create an elder culture. The king and queen archetype are a very important part of elder culture, because that sovereign work, the initiation that a being has to go through. And to be fair, not everyone's called. This is not for everybody. Not everyone is going to manifest that archetype. And that's okay. As Shri said, like, you go to the circle, you go to that round table, people are playing their roles. It's just like a well-oiled, sports team, or, to go back to the military is, in its core essence, is to protect and serve. Go back to ancient Greece, not to dominate and conquer, but, that well-oiled machine, that team synergy. This is how humanity naturally is encoded to operate. We all have archetypes to bring to the table. So it's really important to understand that for this Aquarian Renaissance we're entering.
I think it's also important just to tag off that for a moment is the shadow associations that happens with those words because of the past feudal systems and all the hierarchical distortion of like let's be really clear that we're actually redefining what these terms mean from a benevolent culture standpoint. So I'll just speak for myself. When I use the word king or choose to use the word king, it's the inherent claiming of your divinity. It's the rulership over the kingdom within. That then creates the echo into the external, that creates the echo into the world. And I think that's a really important distinction. And I know Shri has codes for this and is living that, and Kevin and everyone here. And as kings in training or kings already, like I appreciate the natural life cycle. And I think there's a quality of kingship that's emerging in the culture because we have not claimed it. A lot of beautiful people out there don't know their ancestry or don't know their regality or their royalty, right? Because we're in a slave-based system of monetary prison culture for school, public school, like all of that is in the feudal codex. And so for people to pop out of that and claim their own king is actually a necessary stage for the collective to go through of where the divinity is now and where the kingship, queenship is now as an internal experience, breaking free from a debt-based system, so to speak. So I can go in on this for a while, but I want to give Shri some love to add his flavor of what his understanding of king is, so that we can sense make this word, because I think between the three of us, we're going to really land what the new archetypal energy of the king is in these times.
Well, I really love what you said. I think that brings it home really nicely. Just the vibe of the king being a vibration that you learn. You go through your prince, and you master the art of what it means to stay in your center and emanate out. I think one of the things that this makes me think of is cryptocurrency. I know we're all in the cryptocurrency world,
Ding, ding, ding.
and it's like, there's been so much time where I just didn't participate in cryptocurrency. And the reason was, and the reason still, that I still have this vibe, even though I own some coin now. But the reason is because I come from a lineage and an understanding that you make as much money as you want whenever you need it. It's a science. You learn it. You tune into that magnet, that king. You emanate it out, and you have money come to you. You step into that king in such a way where you can tell someone, here is who I am. This is, I make music. I'm also a creative coach. I could take, if you need to get free from that creative block, if you have an emotion that you haven't felt yet, I can help you to feel that and to create art out of that and make a masterpiece from that. To be able to just roll up and share, this is who I am. This is what I bring. Who are you? And what do you need help with? And how can we make that connection? And then here's how much it costs. Put that price on it. I think it's a science in itself. It's a state of mastery in itself. It's a science that we all kind of, some want to learn it, some never get a chance to learn it. But ultimately, bringing this in because this is the lineage that I came from. This is the lineage that I hold, and I'm even still cultivating the understanding of now, is that when I need money, I make it. If I want to see that number go up, I know how to make it go up. I don't have to rely on the possibility of it going up or not going up, or sometimes it going down and sometimes it going up, and being like, whoa, what's going on with this currency that moves all over the place constantly, And so I was always in circles of people talking about this. I went to a couple meetups where they have big conversations about this, and it was always just like, I could just make that amount, like why wait a year for it to get to 10,000, for me to make 10,000 when I can just make 10,000 tomorrow, and when I can go to this teacher that can align my internal being in a way where I can create that and activate that. I feel, and I'll just straight up say it, I feel a lot of times cryptocurrency and even this NFT world, which we can kind of talk about a little later, but even this world can be a way that people think they can escape their own internal mastery. And like, I could just skip my own internal mastery and do this thing and have it make a lot of money. And I don't have to think about the being that I need to become to hold that treasury. But now, as it clashes together, it's like this whole world of cryptocurrency and art has really given me a deep desire of it, and I think the last conversation that I had was with Luke. I was standing out on my balcony and he was like, bro, it's time for you to get into cryptocurrency, and he was just like giving me the download, and I've heard this download before, but the way he was giving it to me, it was in a really nice, like perfect kind of time frame. And then NFTs literally came in right after that. And it was just like, okay, cool. Something is going on here. And then seeing the value of how art can have an access back into the world through non-fungible tokens, it really gave me an access point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy some coins, and since then, it's gone up. My Ethereum's gone up, Bitcoin's gone up. It's like, what? Let's get it. But I'll finish with saying, like, the combination of the two of those things is like, yes, having the mastery. This is something that I am interested in, being able to actualize what I imagine. Is it true? Yes, it's true. How do you actually do it? How do you actually live the secret? It was the big thing, but people were trying to do it and nothing was happening.
There was no crypto and there was the secret.
Right? And so people were trying to live the secret and trying to visualize and nothing's happening. What do I do? But there's an actual kind of clearing out of the trauma. There's an actual like depth cleaning that needs to happen in the heart, in the mind, in the body. And so actually getting to go through that process and then actually walking right to the thing that you want, learning how to do that, and then stepping into cryptocurrency from that space is really powerful, because now it's like fun to me. You know, watching my wallet go like this is super entertaining. It's super entertaining. Gas fees. People are like, we got to figure out the place where there's less gas fees. I'm like, whatever. Just put my freaking art up. You know, I don't really even care about the gas fees. It's all fun. It's all fun to me. There's not like that big of an up and down push pull reality here.
Well, what's funny
Now
about
it's
the
like,
marketry too is what you're talking about with, like, say, like, you know, someone didn't work on their purpose and they became a crypto millionaire, which a ton of people did, by the way. People bought Bitcoin when it was 30 cents. You know, look at it now. All-time high, 64K as of today. What's beautiful about the universal design around money and energy and value, it's ultimately value. You know, now they have all their needs met. Millions and millions and millions. They might buy the Lambos, go through the phase, and then guess what's left? Them. And the unfelt feelings and their purpose, their mission, those tensions in their life. And I've talked to some of these people that, you know, did it in the stock market, same story. Massive, massive money, not from living their purpose, gifting art, whatever. And then that becomes the imperative, because life is there to be like, hey, all your needs are met. There's nothing that can stop you from feeling this now. So it's time.
Yeah. This is very much, it's like identity, you know, tying this back to the prince and the king. It's like there's this rite of passage that happens between the two that for many youth is severely lacking now, right? We don't have as much access to that. And that shapes our identity, that shapes our self-efficacy, that shapes how we show up in the world and what we think what we think is possible for us. And Shri, what you were saying, it's like the thing that has to shift is our identity, like what we believe is possible for ourselves, what we believe is true about ourselves. And I mean, that really ties into mental health and ties into our self-talk and this idea that, you know, abracadabra, it is created as it is spoken. And how, you know, or Don Miguel Ruiz, how, you know, be impeccable with your word, and how important it is how our language affects our own behavior and our own expression out there in the world. And, you know, if a prince has a whole bunch of money, you know, I think in that book there's the high chair tyrant, right? It's like it's also sort of like a dense form of the king, right? Is an immature leader, immature person with lots of power and lots of energy. And, you know, that can cause a lot of damage really quickly, is a lot of money in the wrong hands too. It's like electricity.
Yeah. It's like electricity. It's fun because it's a game. Anything with all these numbers, we get the opportunity to play.
That's
it's like Mario Kart.
Frequency.
Say that again.
That's a new Renaissance frequency. Is you know, my understanding of prosperity and how I work with that energy in my life is understanding that money is neutral in essence, and that we shape it, we give it the meaning based on our conditioning or our orientation. And so this idea that it can be fun is a beautiful, like, that has a Renaissance energy to it. It's a different perspective to money that allow it to be a tool to add value into, again, creating more beauty in the world, right? Not just survive or not just, you know, accumulate, but to contribute. And so I think what's really cool about this transition we're in, like having crypto and these things become more popularized and more adoption. And yes, you have the old money culture inside of it. People just want to make money and come in, and as we named, you know, people are still going to have themselves at the end of the day. But the cool thing about this right now is the shifting of a new system of peer-to-peer currency, and that we're in this early adoption stage. Like, if you're getting into crypto now, you're still an early adopter in comparison to the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
And so there's still an opportunity to shape culture around what we define as money. Like, what are the value systems that we're imbuing in these new systems? Because it's still being defined right now. It's still forming. It's still formulating. It's still emerging. And there's so many memes and themes and ideas and archetypes just in the crypto space alone, and how NFTs brings the art space into it, and all these sectors that would never relate. You got like tech bros and investors and artists in the same space for the first time. They're like trying to figure out the culture that's actually happening right now. And it's great. I love it. I love this element of how new currency and this portal of prosperity that's opening as an opportunity for humanity to transition out of the debt-based war prison. I don't need to give it all the bad names. You already know how it functions. If you don't, Kevin can send you some links. But the the opportunity to play with the energy and have fun is the very frequency and vibration that we actually need to be in to steward wealth at the level that's going to add value to humanity. In a positive way. Not in play games in the billionaire unconscious, who cares way. I'm talking about like, this is fun. Let's engage with life. This is life force energy that I get to move with my attention and awareness and focus, and then choose how I'm adding value and what is the ripple. How am I voting with my time, energy, attention? How am I voting with my dollar? What do I want to give my energy to? And because of the cog of culture previously, it's just like mindless spending, filling the holes, whatever.
This is economics informed by natural law.
Tell us about that.
So when you go into natural law, this is like the good, the true, and the beautiful are just the English word symbol for this. Like, look at the lotus, look at the blue morpho, look at the jaguar, the dolphin. Like, nature prioritizes the good, the true, and the beautiful. The evolutionary engine of God's mind, whatever this thing is, right? Even if it's a simulation, it's a divine simulation. I don't pretend to know what the all is, but it's generating beauty. It's generating art. It's generating goodness. And it's not good versus evil. I define goodness as that benevolence. So it's generative. It's productive. So the apple tree makes more apples than it could ever need to plant apple trees. So everybody wins. It's positive sum. And that's true.
Positive sum game.
Positive sum game means that everybody can win. Zero sum game, which is how the current economic system's built,
rivalry,
is winner take all.
Exploitation.
So if I win, you have to lose by definition. That's where debt and slavery come in. And
music industries like that. There's so many.
Bingo.
So many
Music
parts.
Industry is brutal what they do to artists.
One of the biggest examples of that exists in culture.
Yeah.
It really embodies that, and there's a bunch of other industries that we could shame.
I mean, it reminds me of this Rumi poem, actually, and this idea that in it's actually play is intelligence. Play is the neuron exploration, the culture spreading out, and that creativity comes because we're playing. And what happens when we get rid of play? We get adults, but we get the dense adults. We don't get the king. We get the tyrants. We get the there's no.
You got the ones with the stick up their arse.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's so the play piece, game theory, the fact that life is a game, the fact that we are constantly interacting with each other is why I believe, like, going back to marching orders, for me, it's relationship, it's self and other. We have to deal with, like, the very first war. Okay, the very first war is myself and I. Second war is myself and my lover, if we're being real. Like, that's actually the next place where I need to and then that can become safe and a home base. And then out from there, it's okay, family, community, brothers, friends, tribe, community, so on and so forth. And it becomes just ever increasing concentric circles of boundaries happening, and that negotiation of, okay, how do we deal with this now? When is my boundary being crossed? When is your boundary being crossed? How do we negotiate this? And this is what causes war, but it also causes love and community. And I think that's, this idea of Renaissance is really beautiful. And like, that's the world I choose to live in. Yes, there's horrible darkness everywhere, and the universe is benevolent. The universe is looking out for all things. And And actually, if I can, I would love to read this Rumi poem because it connects to this, and I'm curious on your thoughts. So, the grapes of my body can only become wine after the winemaker tramples me. I surrender my spirit like grapes to his trampling, so my inmost heart can blaze and dance with joy. Although the grapes go on weeping, blood and sobbing, I cannot bear any more anguish, any more cruelty. The trampler stuffs cotton in his ears. I am not working in ignorance. You can deny me if you want. You have every excuse. But it is I who am the master of this work. And when, through my passion, you reach perfection, you will never be done praising my name.
Whew. Bars.
Whew.
Oh, bless you, Rumi. Bless
Jeez
you, bless
Louise.
you, bless you.
Jeez Louise.
It's the process
in
of alchemy.
In the Sufi tradition, you know, the Saki, who is the wine pourer at the sacred cafe, bar, pub, you know, lusciously sipping hookah and wine. It's the intoxication of joy and love that, like that, you know, that's the tradition in which Rumi is writing. So it's interesting to note that intoxication is actually a spiritual path.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I know. Shri could talk into the intoxication from the Bhakti tradition. What was coming to me was the grapes of the personality. And when we go through the annihilation that initiations bring sometimes, of literally having your world destroyed, things you were attached to ripped from you, the soul comes online more and more and more, which is the alchemy of becoming wine. And so, although the personality might get pulled through the mud and have this anguish of endless tears and the things they talk about, eventually you realize it was all for you. It wasn't happening to you, it was happening for you. And the soul can live in the reverence of those experiences, even if the personality was, you know, and I was just like literally thinking about something today that I like resolved in my being around something that was such a huge pain point in my life. And I've been like grieving gradually over like 6 years and just this crystallization of deep reverence for this other person's soul. And that there's nothing they can do to harm me ever again, anything they could say or try to do, because that was one of the initiations in the purification that allowed me to become me. And so how could I ever hold charge towards this other being who is a divine messenger of God, playing their perfect role and sacred contract for my soul to evolve? It was for me. And so that's what that poem was really touching on for me, is the God stomping on your like, I am the grape and the wine, I'm all of it, and there's no escaping, and it will only lead you to reverence if you actually surrender.
Magnificent.
That bird is clapping.
Yeah, that bird is like
Snaps.
All right. This you know, you brought up Bhakti, and I'm also very interested in K.Lee's perspective, because he's a master of the Eastern traditions. Also, he brings in some of that wisdom. There's the beauty of art and how it collides together with these tears that Rumi spoke about. This intoxication. It's like it's a reverence for tears. It's a reverence for wailing. It's a reverence for yearning. You know, especially in the Bhakti tradition, this tradition of devotion. They say it's you know, the separation from God is more attractive. The separation from all that is, the separation from the divine, is more desired than actually being there. Because when you're in that separation, you cry out so much more. You know, you call out so much more, and that calling out just causes almost like a tear through the veil, and allows you to connect to the source of all things. And what brings you there? You know, that discomfort. You know, that 2020 frighten, where it's like, oh, suddenly, you know, there's this thing that's causing so much apparent death and worry and concern. these moments of contrasts always come with these major releases. It is not just something that's spiritual bypassing. We're not making this up. It is not us just trying to make something bad sound good. It is in nature. You know, a caterpillar becomes a butterfly through contrast. You know, like there's so many stories of shedding of skin in just natural life. And it is so important for us to cry. It is so important for us to feel that deep grief. You know, Martin Prachtel, I love Martin Prachtel and his books and how he speaks. He talks about grief and praise. You know, he's a Mayan elder, someone that brings forth that Mayan wisdom. And he has this book on grief and praise, and he brings that science in that grief and praise is two sides of the coin of love. Like love is always present, always around us. God is love. But on both sides of that is not just spirituality. It's not just being blissful and joyful all the time. Be like, yay, yay, yay. There's that. And then there's also the grief, the sadness, the saying goodbye, the loss, and being able to express that and to call out from that, you know. And that's art. That's why art is the Renaissance, because truly what we need in humanity is people to come into contact with these feelings that are so smashed down and hidden, and you know, we're creating all these distractions from these parts of ourselves. And art gives us an access point to be able to paint that story, to paint that feeling, to sing, to call from that place and have that vibration be felt and heard. And it's so important. And that's a glimpse as to why art is the next Renaissance, because it's the place where these calcified, you know, hidden, stuffed into the subconscious feelings can have a way back out, and we can access those parts of ourselves again. And so that's intoxication. You know, that's the intoxication. That's the anchoring of those tears. And lastly, I'll say that I love the fact that he was just like, English ain't gonna do the job here. You know, like English, you know, I've let go of English to express what I'm trying to express to you right now. And I think that that's so powerful, because that's what I'm going through right now, is just being like, letting go of what comes out of my mouth, because that makes me hesitate so often, because I'm trying to think if my English is well enough to be understood or not. But fuck that. Just love, feel, and share, and see how that art comes out. And so I'm really appreciating that poem. Thank you, K.Lee.
Really appreciating everything you're sharing right now, and I'm just really getting we are the flute that the Christ breath, you know, moves through, that idea, and this idea of becoming hollow so that sound is beautiful. and so this idea of beauty, Kevin, earlier you mentioned, I think you said the good, the bad, and the true. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The good, the bad, and the ugly partner.
I see what you tried to do there, though. Slip that true in there.
Yeah.
but the idea
the good,
of beauty,
the true, and the beautiful.
The good,
yeah.
the true, and the beautiful. Thank you. So the good, the true, and the beautiful. It almost makes me think of Satchidananda Shri a little bit. So good would be Ananda.
It's basically the Greek version of that. Like the Pythagoreans were basically enlightened yogis. Like they're very similar.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. Yeah, and the idea of beauty as being superior to almost anything else, as like a value. Beauty.
Well, this is important to understand, because the good, what is it? Even the four of us, we share so many values. We probably couldn't arrive at a consensus around the good. The true, what is it? We definitely, I mean, I'm just willing to bet, probably not going to come to a consensus here about the true, right? The capital T. But the beautiful, I guarantee you, we all can appreciate beauty and agree on it. So the beauty is actually a key for humanity to open the gates. And you nailed it, Shri. Art can do the job. Art's the man for the job, the woman for the job.
Yeah, I love that. I almost don't want to be good anymore. I'm kind of over it. Because good is just so natural now. It's like we've studied it, we've read about it in books, and like it's just like now I'm at the point where I'm just trying to be good so much that I'm like not being myself. So the opportunity to be a rebel, to not be nice all the time, and I'm kind of conflating a little bit because I know what you mean by good. So
there's a difference between the morality and the behavioral conditional, socially
exactly,
acceptable of these things. I think for me the way that I would, if we want to synthesize and start to wind the conversation down, or I don't know where we're at, like maybe we go into that. Maybe we like share what's our deepest true, or the deepest good, or the most beautiful to each of us. I think that could be a really cool way to like start to, distill into our.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I would vote that we go around and do good, and then we go around and do true, and then we go around and do beautiful.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, yeah, for me, goodness is so deeply woven with the energetic frequency of compassion. So it's not seeking to necessarily impose itself as a moral ideology onto the world, but it is the goodness that we emanate in response to the world that is good. Like that's how I feel goodness is. It's the purity of the soul expressing itself from an informed place of compassion, and compassion being a very essential component of what true power is from the soul frequency, not the dominance version of power that we've been conditioned to. So goodness is existing and is exuberating from a frequency of compassion. And I'll swing it over to Kev.
I vote we do all three in the rotation. Okay. So I think it'll make way more sense.
Sweet. I will go to the true. When I feel into the true, it's funny. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said true, like from Cloud Atlas. I was just like that true. It's like, that true. I feel like one of the most profound metrics for truth is the body. Like when I get chills, I know there's substance there. I know that there's truth there. And it's such a charged word for me in our world today, with the information wars and different spiritual ideologies and different shadow projections and perspectives in relationship of, the smoke and mirrors of what we think we see and how that's informing our lens. Truth to me is a subjective experience, and there's like a foundation of, is it supporting goodness? Is it supporting beauty? Is it supporting understanding? And so I guess the metric of truth for me has become the capacity to arise at understanding as we explore the totem pole in the middle of the room and the many angles and facets to truth, to allow that truth has many forms and it can be experienced by all. And the most important thing that we do is learn to claim and live and honor our truth, our own truth, and be able to share that. Because I don't know that there's a universal truth other than, said that love is all pervading. And then beautiful, I don't know that needs like a full translation or unique expression for me. I like what you said, Kevin. So we're all gonna come to some kind of agreement what's beautiful. So
you created this prompt, bro. Like you're in the bed you made.
All right. Well, what's beauty? The beauty way for me, like indigenous people, the Red Road, they talk about the beauty way. Prayer, the technology of prayer, to me is the most beautiful thing that exists in parallel proximity to the feminine form for me. So beauty is the divine feminine, in my opinion. And it's also the divine masculine in reverence to the divine feminine. That is the most beautiful thing for me. So that means Mother Earth, that means all her forms, all the beautiful sisters, all the different ways that divine feminine energy can manifest itself as form, because the divine feminine is form, divine masculine being formless. So that interplay in all its expressions, that is very beautiful. And from my experience, like that's beauty. And all the ways that can be, all the forms of reverence. Like Rumi said, there's 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the earth. So I'll leave it at that. Swing it over to Kev.
Beautiful. I'll keep this super succinct and simple. I think that'll be the most effective way to English this. What's good? Subtract an O. It's God. What is God? I don't fucking know. But the good is God, and that's why we call it the good. Very simple. What is God? Brief definition, all that is. Okay, great. What's true? What's truth? Capital T, not lowercase. Lowercase t is like, well, this is my truth, brother. That's cool. Subjective truth is fucking awesome. But capital T truth, what is it? Take away everything that you can. At the layer of mind, at the layer of heart, at the layer of spirit, what's left is truth. It's there. It's evident. It's there. There's a lot on top of it in these human lives that we create and add, which I would call illusion. Beautiful. What's beauty? It's the good and the true manifest. Done.
Ninja synthesizer.
Dang, you're fast snapper, Sri.
Can you see my fingers moving?
Yeah.
I like the ease there. I feel I'm going to take that route also and say that good, true, and beauty shows up when I am experiencing love. I know that it's kind of my cheat sheet. I can right now choose the polarity of love, and I have in every moment an opportunity to do that. And when I do that, it almost gives me a safe space to know that anything that I do while feeling that emotion is good. It creates a boundary on its own behalf. And I love that you connected God equal good, and we could keep connecting it, God equal love. Same for true, same for beauty. The opportunity to be in my own choice of love in any given moment. It doesn't matter how beautiful something is. If I'm internally not tuned in, then it's usually ugly. I'm usually in the dimension of whatever I'm feeling. And so there's an opportunity to share that to do that work, to be the person in tune with love in every moment. And then also at the same time, I love beautiful things. So just trusting that, yeah, this flute is fucking beautiful. It was so beautiful that I went and got another one. I got another one with 3 holes in it. and I know what beauty looks like, and just honoring my awareness that I know what beauty looks like, and reveling in it. If the food doesn't look beautiful, being able to say that, and be arrogant about it a little bit for all 3 of these things. And just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to own the fact that I'm going to say that this is good, So yeah, but ultimately that the connection of the feeling, the vibration of the signature of love, being able to cultivate what it feels like when it's happening, and what you could do in your life to get a deeper connection to touching it and doing the thing, and doing it so much that it happens in the micro milliseconds. And so that's my vibe. Loving every moment.
Snaps.
Snaps.
So, okay, I'm going to try and do this succinctly as well, because everyone said something, something that was so beautiful, and I want to try and just see if I can spin this in a harmonious way. So the first thing that comes to mind is this quote from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he's a teacher in our tradition, in our Bhakti Yoga tradition. And he says the main duty of the soul, the primary objective, the marching orders of the soul upon being aware and awake is, how do I save myself? And then it's, how do I save others? And then it's, how do I remove the darkness of ignorance? And how do I see the light? And then after that, what remains is, how do I remove suffering? And how do I taste nectar? And so it's making me draw this connection of goodness, benevolence is love. It is that I see myself in you. Namaste. I see the divine in you, right? The same divine in me. Truth. What is truth? Truth, like Kevin was saying, that which is left after everything else. It reminds me of a Bhagavad Gita quote. Nasate vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata. So that which changes is not eternal, and therefore is not true. That which is eternal is not illusion. That's not exactly what it says, but that's, it. Yeah, and is that which changes is unchanging. And the seers of the truth have concluded this by studying the nature of both. So truth is that which is eternal, and I agree, we're going to have different names on it. Now, what is beautiful? I believe that the most beautiful thing is the idea, the heart conception that God is the divine couple, and that all of reality in the universe is there playing.
Well, that's epic.
And I was hoping, as we wind down, this has been an epic conversation. You all are epic. It has been seriously an honor to have you on the platform, to share you with my audience. And I would absolutely love to have deeper conversations with all of you and with each of you. And I was kind of wondering if Srikala would be willing to, share some amazing flute music as our outro here, if you'd be willing. And real quick,
I would be willing.
Real quick, let's just go round robin. Where is the best place to get in touch with you, Luke?
At Luke Kohen, LukeKohen. So all my handles across Clubhouse, Instagram, and .com. LukeKohen.
Amazing, brother. LukeKohen. I'll have that in the show notes. Luke, it's been awesome having you. I encourage everyone to go check him out, follow him, listen to this guy speak. Kevin, where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, Kevin Orosz, OROSZ.com, and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It's all there. You'll find me. And come play on Clubhouse. Come play on BitClout if you're into that kind of thing. Decentralized social media. It's coming soon. Not here yet. It's coming.
Yes. Please visit Brother Kevin. Go follow him. Srikala, King Kala, where can people connect with you?
Srikala. Google it.
Google Dave.
That's all you need. Srikala. Google it.
All right. And Srikala is going to take us out. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Kevin. It's been amazing. And Srikala, take it away.
See.
Thank you, She.
Thank you.
Blessings
Thank
and
you,
love.
my bros.
All right. Tune in next time. This has been Be On Air. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Be On Air. I hope you enjoyed it and are now one step closer to turning on your mic and broadcasting your message to the world. Are you ready to start your own podcast and amplify your brand? Or are you struggling to get your show in front of engaged audiences? I can help you on your broadcasting journey. Get in touch with me and apply for a strategy session if you want to discuss your podcast idea. You can reach me at www.podcast-farm.com. I'm on all the social media. Until next time, my friends, I'm K.Lee Marks. Thanks for tuning in to Be On Air.